All right, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. Welcome to Muslim Network TV Canada Today Youth Edition. This is your host, Brother Muhammad Maxwell Hassan here. And today we're going to be talking about something that is all around us, but may not be paying, having the attention that it deserves. Small, you can see here this little plant, mashallah. It's a little allusion to what we're going to be talking about today, and that is the environment. Being green Muslims, being clean is part of deen. This is the whole situation here. But now, when people talk about the environment, they talk about so many things. They may say to themselves that, oh, the environment's too big, climate change, people are butting heads all the time, all this stuff. But what do you and I, let's just say regular average individuals that we care for the environment, sure, but we just don't know how to or what to do, especially when it comes to an individual level with the environment. Now with the whole coronavirus situation, the natural world is definitely in the spotlight. And how do we take care of Mother Nature or planet Earth? And so with us here today, we got two very, very special co-guests to shed light on this particular topic. We got Brother Faizan Ahmed. Mashallah, he has over 6 years of waste reduction, diversion, and sustainable material management, experience in North America. He completed a Master's of Science in Sustainability Management from University of Toronto. Shout out to University of Toronto. And is currently working as a sustainability consultant with the REM group. And mashallah, he is truly enthusiastic about waste and recycling and tries to help others do better for the environment. And as he says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has only given us one planet. I know Elon Musk is trying to do something else, but we only got this one right now. We have only one planet, so let's take good care of it, inshallah. Jazakallah khairan, Brother Faizan, for stopping by. We're really super excited to hear your insight in the sustainability world. And with us here today as well, we have Sister Saba Khan. MashaAllah, she's a graduate of the Environment and Business program at the University of Waterloo. Woohoo, Waterloo. She's currently employed with the Toronto and Region Conservation Authority, where she works on her team's communication and engagement initiatives to encourage businesses, nonprofits, and municipalities to be sustainability champions. And mashallah, she's also the co-founder of Enviro Muslims, which is a community group aimed at engaging and educating and empowering Canadian Muslims, especially when it comes to sustainability in where they live, where they work, where they play, where they pray. And mashallah, she is all big on that responsibility. So thank you, Sister Saba, as well, for stopping by and shedding some light on this very crucial topic. Now, always what I like to do in the beginning of every show, especially when it comes to our new guests, is always to share your stories. There's nothing like a good story. So let's go, ladies first. Sister Saba, if I can kindly ask if you could share with the viewers, why decide to go into sustainability? I mean, there's a million career paths. Why choose sustainability? How did you fall into this line of work? And feel free to shed some light on that.
Yeah, sure. Well, thank you so much for having me here with you this evening. So, in terms of how I got involved in sustainability throughout high school, like many South Asian youth, I think, I was very much focused on pursuing a graduate or undergrad in sciences. So, throughout high school, I kind of took the sciences. And then later on, in grade 12, I ended up taking an Introduction to Environmental Studies course, and I also dabbled a bit into world issues and things like that. And that was, with the support of a very inspirational teacher in my high school. That was the first time I was really exposed to this world that I hadn't really heard of before, kind of the impacts that we can have on the environment, on society at large. And that really spoke to me. So I ended up heading over to Waterloo and I majored in environment and business there. And I think even after graduating, I was a bit lost in what I wanted to do. And I ended up interning at a not for profit that promoted sustainability in the fashion industry. So, after being there for a couple of months, what happened was in April of 2013, in Bangladesh, there was the Rana Plaza collapse. And the Rana Plaza was a garment factory that employed so many people. I don't even know the number, but they worked in really horrible conditions. They weren't paid very well. There were no safety precautions or regulations kind of guiding the process there. And when it collapsed, over 1,100 people actually lost their lives. And I remember being exposed to this on through news articles and on the news, and the people who were affected looked like me, but the people who were speaking out against the injustice that was being committed in these garment factories looked nothing like me. They were many times Caucasian. And that's what really motivated me to get more involved in sustainability, because that's when I started to learn that there was such a connection between environmental stewardship and the social aspect and social well-being and the health of our community. So that's kind of what really inspired me, and I think guided me um, kind of towards the career that I have today.
Very cool, mashallah. So you get the best of both worlds. Very neat, and it's it's you can get triumph from a tragedy. So it's unfortunate that that happened. But from that, you see it sparked a whole new way and pathways. Subhanallah, that's amazing. So we're gonna unpack that a bit more in terms of sustainability. But for now, let's take it over to Brother Faizan. Tell us your story. You're very enthusiastic about waste and recycling. So tell us, where did this enthusiasm come from? Please.
So technically, it was like laid out for me by like Allah, like literally. So like I came to Canada, and my mind was set on like by my parents, just like, oh, like you're a brown kid, you have to be a doctor. So I enrolled in biochem physics in my first year in the University of Toronto. And then what happened was that I had done A levels back in Saudi, so I got transfer credits, and so those courses I already got a credit for. I had no idea what a transfer credit was at the time, and so I'm running around these professors' offices just trying to find any professor who would take me in, and the environment professor was the only one that would take me in. So I found environment like early on at university, but even then still like my push for the medical field didn't stop there. So like even in fourth year, I applied for this internship to be on the bio side, and surprisingly, the bio internship people never got back to me. It was the people from the environment team that got back to me and said that you've been granting an environment internship with the city of Mississauga, and so here you go. Like you start working for the city of Mississauga, and so all these signs were just laid out by Allah for me, like just get on the sustainability path. Like environment is meant for you, and so project after project in the environment just like increased my interest for it, and so here I am now.
MashaAllah, so there are no coincidences. It's just everything, one thing led to another, and here you are. MashaAllah, that's amazing, man. And was this we were at UTM, so was this the sustainability program at UTM, or was it like, did you go downtown, or where?
This was the one at UTM, but this was in undergrad. This was prior to the master's program that started. So even the master's program that started was also a coincidence, because I was in my gap year. I had no idea what I wanted to do at the time. Like I was researching different opportunities. And so my environment prof calls me and they're like, we're starting this new environment program at UTM with this master's in sustainability management. Do you want in? And I'm like, of course. Like,
oh, there you go. Everything just was lined up for you, man. Alhamdulillah. It's good to hear. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Now, having said that, so we got a little taste of where, both of your origin stories came from. Now, when we talk about sustainability, it's a huge thing. It's a huge field. Now, depending on how you slice it, depending on who you ask, they all have their different interpretations on what sustainability truly is. Let's take it back to Sister Saba. If I can kindly ask, if you were to tell someone who has no idea what sustainability is, how would you describe it? What's your definition of sustainability in the first place?
Yeah, I mean, sustainability, to your point, it's such a vast industry, and I don't think there's any real set definition. Environmental sustainability, for example, is, to me, it's us acting responsibly now so that the Earth's resources can support future generations. But I feel like it also goes so far beyond just caring for the natural environment. It encompasses social equity and well-being, and it touches on the prosperity of our economic institutions. So it's kind of, when you think about it, and when I was in Waterloo, we'd always think of it as kind of the triple bottom line. And even though that's a concept a lot of businesses use, for me, it makes sense because you think of the natural environment and you think of social well-being as well as economic prosperity. So I guess that's kind of my definition, a balance of all of these things, with the end goal though of always taking into consideration the impact that we're having on the earth. And I think I actually recently came across an article which really spoke to me, and I'm really excited I came across it before this session, so that I have the opportunity to share it. But it was basically this principle called the seventh generation principle, and it's an ancient indigenous principle, and it states that the actions you commit today, you should be thinking of the impact of your actions 7 generations down the line. And I thought that was so beautiful, and it really speaks to the connection Indigenous communities have with the natural environment. And I feel like if more of us thought of it in that way, we just be in such a much better state than we are today.
Mashallah, that's really cool, huh? 7 generations, to be cognizant of it, that's really neat. I mean, unfortunately, maybe for a lot of folks, the only connection that they have, with that is it's very rare. It's hard to find, and especially in this hustle and bustle kind of way, this lifestyle, you don't stop and smell the roses, right? Literally. So it's great that, mashallah, that's a really neat approach. 7 generations. I wonder why seven? Why not like 8, 9, 10? Is there some lucky number 7, I suppose, or there's some significance, I presume. But the key is to, think far ahead. Very, very cool, mashallah. Thank you for sharing that. Brother Faizan, what's your definition? What's your take on sustainability? How do you define it as someone who's living it? What would you say?
So yeah, similar to like what Sister Saba just said, that yeah, like so I like the fact that sustainability is multidisciplinary, because then it just gives everyone their own unique perspective on it. So everyone has their own unique definition of sustainability. Like if you were to Google like sustainability, you would come across the definition, like when the word originated back, I guess it was in the late 80s when at the conference where they said that sustainability is to meet the needs of the present generation without compromising the needs of the future generations. I worked on my own definition of sustainability in my environmental programs because I just wanted to understand what it was for myself. So I see sustainability, like in our textbook, sustainability is shown as like 4 pillars. 3 pillars, like people, economic, social, and environmental. And so I try to always focus on the social aspect of it, because in my understanding is that if we can get the people involved, the people educated and engaged about sustainability and like why it's important and what they can do and be a part of it, the environmental and economic impacts will come because of the people that are involved. And so that's why that led me to like engaging with people in the City of Mississauga's Green Leaders program and with the youth and the environment and the people at UTM as well.
Oh, very nice, mashallah. So just, what was the definition again? Like meeting the needs without like overdoing it, or what was it again? Could you repeat that?
Meeting the needs of the present without compromising the needs of future generations.
That's really cool. Oh man, that's pretty encompassing. Meeting the needs of the present without compromising the future. Spawn, like so many times people, they're mining for gold or they're mining for resources and they just deplete everything, and that's really cool. Like, how do you meet the needs without compromising the future? Very cool definition, mashallah. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think maybe we can touch on this a little bit now, so this is a good segue into sustainability at a macro level and at a micro level. Some people, when like, okay, let's continue on, Brother Faizan. Masha, you work at things on a macro scale. You look at things, you're dealing with companies, you're dealing with municipalities. It's a big thing, a big entity. What's the difference between sustainability dealing at that large scale versus a regular average individual who just wants to, who's living in a condo, living in an apartment, living in a house, like a regular average folk who's just watching this and just saying, hey, I'm not part of some big firm or anything like that. What can I do at an individual? What would you say is the difference between the micro level and the macro level, and the micro level, in your opinion?
It comes down to, I guess, essentially the same stuff. Like what they're doing at a macro scale, you just have to boil it down to what you're doing at a like micro scale. Like I always remember that like hadith of the Prophet where like he said that even just moving dirt out of someone's path is like a blessing for you, right? And so like when you're taking out your garbage, like make sure that what you're throwing out, like you separate out what can be recycled. If you see trash on the street, just pick it up and put it in the bin, just to make sure that there's no litter around. Because yeah, like maybe humans can see it, but the animal that's passing by will not know if that's food or plastic and may just choke on it, right? So even like those little acts of kindness can like help about. As for like you being in your like apartment, like I know it's like a tough time being in lockdown and stuff. So I guess just engaging I guess yourself with like what the environment around you is. Like this is the best time I guess to like just calm down, like to take a breath and like you said, like stop and smell the roses, like embrace the environment, see what's around you, see what the nature is, and so on.
Okay, take notice of what's out there, not just kind of be. I know now it's more tempting than ever to just stick with the virtual. I mean, hey, for those of you watching online, keep watching us. But I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, it's so tempting to just, have this tunnel vision and just to say, we got to go online. You wake up and you're on your phone. You're eating lunch and you're on your phone and you're not painting everyone with the same brush. But having said that, it's very hard to think about the trees that are being cut down or the natural habitat that's being crushed. I mean, if you're constantly surrounded in your own bubble. So, all right, very cool, Masha. What I guess the biggest takeaway there is that even you think of things at a macro scale doesn't mean that you can't do things at a micro or individual scale. Just so much like you mentioned the hadith, where someone can just move things away, like pick up the trash, even clean up after yourself, I suppose, is a big deal. Right? So, Sister Saba, do you have anything to add to that? Like when you're dealing, some people when they deal with things at an individual scale versus, oh, I gotta be some. This is the thing. Like I'm really curious to hear your take on this, is because so many people they think, oh, I have to be like Hercules or I gotta be some superhero in order to save the world, in order to stop all the trash that's going in the ocean, stop the trees that are being cut down, or all that stuff. But and as a result, they might excuse themselves into saying, "Hey, you know what? It's not my problem." What do you make of that, like sort of outlook or attitude when people they look at the environment as, yeah, it's someone else's problem. It's not my thing. It's too big for me to handle. What do you say about that?
Yeah, I think that's actually a really common perception that people have just because issues around the environment just seem so vast and it gets really challenging sometimes to keep people motivated and encouraged that their actions do mean something. But as an individual, there are definitely things that you can do. Faizan mentioned a bunch of great ones. But when we think of policies, for example, engaging with your local politicians, being wise of the parties that you vote for and their environmental platforms. I think now through groups like the Canadian Muslim Vote, we're seeing more and more Muslim voters go out to cast their ballot. But when it comes to looking at what are the different environmental policies that each of these parties have, that's something that you should definitely take into consideration. The power that you have as a consumer. A lot of businesses are making a lot of commitments when it comes to zero waste and reducing their greenhouse gas emissions and committing to zero plastic. So putting pressure on companies and reconsidering your consumption habits has a huge impact as well. And then even at home, with us being at home right now, things like, using a reusable mask. I cannot tell you how many times, and I'm sure both of you have noticed where you're just out and about and you look down and there are gloves and there are masks on the floor. And of course, we're living through a pandemic. We have to stay safe. But things like putting your gloves in the closest garbage bin and using a reusable mask if you can. These little actions at home, utilizing your green bin, not eating as much meat, even in Islam, that's not something that's encouraged. And research what our dean says about being an environmentalist because, it is a fundamental part of our religion as well to be caretakers of this earth. So I think education is a big part of that. But I hope that people see that as an individual, you do have power to make a difference.
Look at that, Oh, so it's just like it's a matter of, I guess, a matter of willpower, I suppose. So you don't have to look at every opportunity, see what's out there, and just do it again. Oh, I can't tell you how many times I've seen that myself, what a sight, where you see a bunch of masks tossed on the floor like it's a wasteland, and it's sad. I mean, at the end of the day, it's good that people are wearing masks. It's good that they're keeping their social distancing. Whatever side you're on in terms of that whole um, debate, we pray to Allah subhanahu to keep everyone safe. But at the very least, I think everyone can agree that garbage goes in the garbage. You don't toss it on the floor. That's that. But now, having said that, let's just say I'll take it back to Brother Faizan here. Let's just say someone's watching this and they got inspired. They're like, oh man, mashallah, we got some brothers and sisters here actually making a difference in the sustainability world. I never even knew that this existed. I didn't know this was a career path. What would you say are some, I guess, let's package it up as to say, like, education wise, what do people need to take? What are some opportunities available? Do you have any overall advice in terms of like how to get started? If I'm sitting here right now, I'm like, I want to get into sustainability. Where do I begin? How would you go about that?
So if you're starting out, just like Sister Saba mentioned, some like good like ideas, like to, engage with your local politicians as well. But apart from that, like every municipality or town that you're in has some sort of environment department. So they have reports and initiatives that they're doing. So you can just like read up on those. Even in cities, there's a bunch of like nonprofits that focus on environment. Just engage with those and have some like as volunteer projects that they're conducting. Something that I always enjoy that you can look into is that if sustainability has like various paths because it is multidisciplinary, you can find people on LinkedIn whose career paths that you do actually enjoy or like can see yourself in. So whether that's a waste and recycling specialist or whether that's someone in sustainable finance or Enviro Muslims, you can network with them on LinkedIn and just have a conversation with them and see if that's something you can enjoy.
Okay, very cool. What about education? Does someone need a bachelor's, master's? Is there any sort of standard, anything like that, or?
It's like in my I guess experience, like work experience matters more. So like you can start off with like a bachelor. So like every university has like some sort of environment programs as well as internships. So I would highly recommend getting into something that provides you with like internships on the sustainability side, because the amount of experience you'll gain while working hands-on is definitely much better than what you will learn in a classroom. And I like the experience I had with the city of Mississauga with the Green Leaders program. Like I learned so much by interacting with so many people from various departments. So you develop your communication skills. You're just very creative in getting people to work together, and like meeting your project goals is just very useful skills.
Very cool, mashallah. So it sounds like hands-on is the way to go. You just kind of throw yourself out there. Maybe start with a volunteer opportunity, I presume, and then work your way up. Okay, very cool. And then if you want to take your education further, and there's that option available. Plenty of universities or colleges have environment programs available. So there's all that. Very neat, mashallah. So Sister Sab, if I was to ask you the same question, let's say there's a sister watching this. She got super inspired. She said, oh my gosh, I'm going to here to change the world one sustainable day at a time. How do I get started? What do I do? What would you say if you knew then what you know now? What would you say would be the best course of action to really sink your teeth into this whole sustainable world?
Yeah, I think that it's important for people to understand that if you have the opportunity to do a diploma or a degree in sustainability, that's fantastic. Say you're a student who's already in university or college and you're in a different field. You can always take courses that, talk a bit about sustainability. And I think the great thing that Brother Faizan has also alluded to when it comes to sustainability is it's so interdisciplinary that you can be a finance major and bring sustainability into your world. Like you can be a champion of this regardless of whether sustainability is in your job title or whether it's on your diploma or your degree. Um, it's really just the responsibility of everyone, and there's so many ways to incorporate it in the work that you do or at home, or in youth groups that you're in, or if you're involved with the masjid. If you work at an office, you can talk to your team about doing certain things that promote sustainability in the office, even if it has nothing to do with sustainability. And I think it's important I've really benefited a lot from connecting with individuals on LinkedIn or at events and kind of picking their brains and seeing what their journey is, because it's so interesting to see. Even now, I work at the Conservation Authority, and my team comes from pharmaceuticals and all of these different areas, and they don't necessarily come from sustainability backgrounds. So I think if you're interested in it, there is definitely, where there's a will, there's a way, I guess is what I want to say.
All right. When there's a will, there's a way, and that's really cool. Like you mentioned that it's very. I guess one of the key things to hammer home today is that sustainability is very interdisciplinary. It's not just limited to one thing. It's very it's almost like an orchestra. You need you have a lot of people playing different parts and different roles to kind of get this, the wheels turning. MashaAllah, very very cool. Unfortunately, as they say, that all good things must come to an end, but we're going to end on a very high note. So let me take it to Brother Faizan first. If, let's just say, you could give the greatest piece of advice about sustainability or getting into the world of sustainability, what would it be? You can either attack this from giving advice to someone who wants to get into the world of sustainability, or what would be your greatest advice for someone who is looking to become more sustainable as a human being overall, or being more environmentally conscious? What would you say to either or?
I would say don't stop learning and educating yourself more. Even once you started working, it's always better to stay up to date with what's going on around you, and don't be afraid to do smaller actions, because even the small actions end up multiplying and just adding up, and they lead to a much bigger effort. So those would be my top, I guess, two advices that I would give to anyone.
MashaAllah. So never stop learning, and don't underestimate the small things, because it really does matter. MashaAllah, it adds up, and it's noticeable. Very, very cool. Sister Saba, same thing to you. If you had some advice, and I believe you have some special offer or something going on with Enviro Muslims that I would like, you can feel free to highlight and showcase here. So included in your advice in terms of, let's say, advice to someone who's looking to get into this as a profession versus someone who's looking to just become overall environmentally conscious, what would you say, either or? And please, by all means, feel free to make that special announcement with Enviro Muslims, please.
So much. Yeah. So I guess I just like to echo what Brother Faizan mentioned on how important it is to educate yourself on issues related to environmental sustainability and climate change. And I think it's really important to be careful of the sources where you're getting this information. There are things you can do if you're just kind of interested in learning more about it. There are films and documentaries on Netflix even that you can tune into and watch. And on a professional level, again, I'm always going to go back to the power of networking. And I think it's important to find mentors or, people on that same journey as you, especially for myself. I think as a South Asian woman, I didn't have people in my family or my circle who were pursuing a career in this. So I really relied on the advice of a lot of people. And I think that's really helped me. So I encourage people, and I'm going to speak on behalf of Brother Faizan here because I know he'd say the same thing, that if there are people who are interested in learning more, please reach out to us. We're both on LinkedIn. And I was also hoping he would mention this, and maybe we can go back to Faizan and he'll mention a networking session we have planned. But before that, I did want to mention to everyone that Enviro Muslims recently received a grant from the Olive Tree Foundation, and we're partnered up with a group called Faith in the Common Good, who are fantastic, and we've launched something called the Greening Canadian Mosques Initiative. So our team is working diligently on creating a toolkit for Canadian mosques to use to embed sustainability within their facilities. So it'll consist of case studies, to-do lists, action plans, and also on how they can engage with their community to be sustainability champions. So if you go to our website, which is www.enviromuslims.ca, and you go under the projects, you'll be able to find Green Canadian Mosques, and there are 2 surveys in there. So as a congregation member, if you want to complete that survey, we're also giving out 2 $50 gift cards And we're really hoping to hear from Muslims across the country and get their feedback around, the role that they think their mosque should have when it comes to leading the charge. So yeah, I encourage everyone to visit the website, and if you're interested in getting involved, please feel free to get in touch.
Very cool. MashaAllah, Sister Saba and Brother Faizan. Their doors are open wide for communication. And Enviro Muslims, again, it's got that gift card. You want to take advantage of that as an opportunity. So Enviro Muslims, it's got that survey. So feel free to check it out. And feel free to check out their organization as a whole. They're doing a lot of amazing things, doing a lot of great work, trying to keep the sustainability message alive and well with our Muslim brothers and sisters, and also our brothers and sisters in humanity. Wonderful, wonderful stuff. Thank you, Brother Faizan and Sister Saba, for stopping by. Amazing stuff. Sustainability, really, just you could see it, flowing through your veins. Mashallah, trying to see if you can build that future for, for the better. And it's a shame how things can get, really downhill really fast, especially when it comes to people who are not cognizant. But mashallah, you two are shining examples of folks that are Muslim, trying to revitalize that part of the deen, and good stuff. Thank you both so much for stopping by. Much appreciated. One last thing, I want to talk to the viewers directly as always. Look, folks, mashallah, brothers and sisters here. As I circle back to the very beginning here, being clean is part of deen. And it's all about the little details that add up and count. Whether it is cleaning up after yourself, whether it is cleaning if you are in the capacity to go into a masjid these days, even cleaning up a little speck, all this stuff matters. And when you have that environmental mindset, it goes a long way. The Prophet ﷺ, when he first entered Medina, one of the first things he did, and one of the things that Medina is truly known for, is being clean. And mashallah, especially what Rasul ﷺ brought forth, especially to this deen, is the high importance of cleanliness at all aspects. And so, being one with nature, taking care of the nature, wherever you can, just work with what you have. Remember, being clean is part of deen. And with that, thank you so much for tuning in. Tune in next week, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is your brother, Muhammad Maxwell Hassan. Thank you so much. Stay strong, stay safe, and stay proud to be Muslims. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.